Oh, welcome back to Celtic World Order. Good evening to you all, whether you're watching live or whether you're watching retrospective at a later date. It's Sunday. It's the day after the event. It's the day after the funeral because, as it says here, we are here to discuss Celtic 2, Rangers 1. Somebody call the funeral home because the title race is dead and buried, as Rangers 1872. And I'm here some familiar faces. Glad to have them in the house. Firstly, up atop with me is the guy I call my spirit animal of the podcasting world. It is Punk Duck Warlord, Liam Greenlaw. And below me, my bearded brother, the OG, the original, it's Paddy Boy. Guys, how are you? You buoyant and happy after that start to the weekend?
Aye, brilliant start to the weekend. You know, I was saying earlier, it's, you know, these podcasts are great because see when you're in Vancouver, you're struggling to find somebody in a pub to talk to the game, you know, to talk to a bit about the game. There's so many things you want to talk about, and our club was shut right now. So I was just wondering about Gastown yesterday, like if anybody watch the game. No, I mean,
brilliant. Yourself, Paddy, I know you were watching it and you were rushing out to a communion, eh?
Yeah, sat and watched the game. Didn't even get a drink watching it, which was unlike me, especially for a Glasgow derby. But yeah, went out after it. Nice communion, family event. Everybody there, all in a happy celebratory mood, which went on to the later hours of the day. So yeah, cracking day all round.
Well, there's lots to talk about. There's a lot to unpack, and about a lot of joy. And let's have some fun. Eh? Is that what we were told to do? I certainly had fun. Liam looks like he's had fun. Paddy's smiling. Look at his big face. He's had some fun. So let's have some fun. But before we have some fun, let's do the housekeeping. We do it. We say it all the time. At Celtic World Order right now, our operation is small, but there's always room for some rapid expansion. The numbers are starting to pump up, and that's thanks to everybody doing their part to help get our content out there. So it goes without saying, see if you like what you see, you like what you hear, hit the subscribe. Every time we go live, anytime there's an upload, you'll get notified. You won't miss a beat. If you like it, get a wee thumbs up. If you want to help us out, you can share it. It just gets more eyes in, gets more bodies in, and it gets the numbers up, helps grow the community. You can get us on at Celtic CWO Pod 1888 on X. Like me, Paddy, will find Liam on their handles. If you want to try and add us and talk and listen to our garbage elsewhere, you can do that there. And we're also old school Facebook. For what it's worth, it's still there at Celtic World Order Podcast. So that is it. I'm still carrying the injury. I've still got the arm in the sling. It's looping, still on the painkillers, making it happen. And this is the first time and the only time this weekend that you'll see blue go over the top of the green and white, because it simply did not happen. So this is the only time, one and only. But let's get cracking on. But before we do that, there's something we've got to do. And I want everybody to join me here and help me out, because there is a wee matter that needs to be addressed. Happy birthday to the Punk Duck Warlord. There he is, chilling out in the ring in the pool after a Celtic victory. Happy birthday, Liam, mate.
Cheers, pal.
What is it, 25?
63 today.
Don't look at me, don't look at. But happy birthday. Early gift, early present for the team, eh? A title, pretty much there, eh?
I know. I was looking forward to this weekend. You know, just to sort of like, all right, I'm going to celebrate my birthday and we'll have cleaned it up, the title, you know, got a good stream for the game, that sort of stuff, you know. But it's just starting. It's still early here. It's only 12 o'clock.
That's it, mate. And I know you'll be straight out and you've got a amazing, colourful lifestyle, mate. So I imagine after this will just be a wee après-ski, so a wee palate cleanser for the rest of your weekend to go. So let's get straight into it. Let's dive right in. Starting the match, we got the lineups. We sat there, we spoke about it, didn't we? We knew what we were going to get. Rodgers gave us what everybody wanted. We got Maeda coming in the left. We got Forrest on the right-hand side. No changes elsewhere on the field. Liam, it's been a while since I've had you on, so come straight up to yourself. How were you feeling when you get the lineups out there? Is that what you were looking for, a wee bit of yourself in that?
Aye, more or less. Without the obvious me, you know, everybody knows when the Boise bus going on about Greg Taylor and that, and I'd rather he was replaced every game. But as far as the wingers, that was absolutely the correct decision. I think it just proved its point. Dyson gives them nightmares in the whole back, and what we were sort of predicting on Friday. A lot of that sort of came out, both the positive and the negatives. But as far as the team selection goes, I think that was it. That was our strongest team at that point.
Yeah, 100%. Now, we went with it. Everybody was wanting us to go, put your best foot forward and all that, try and attack, get it straight to it. And absolutely no surprises. And I think, as we'll see when we get into the game and it panning out, it was the right decision to make. And we had very little mistakes in general. Still one or two things, obviously, we lost the goal and things like that. Let's not put in the party. We'll get around to it. It is what it is. In terms of the aim, Paddy, we sat here and I don't mean to say I was right. I'm not often I'm wrong, but I was right again, wasn't I?
In the top left-hand corner, you pretty much predicted everything that was going to happen with them.
As I says, there you go. They packed out the midfield. I think the term that was used a few times was aggression. And it was a packed midfield, wasn't it? They went with Diamandi, they went with Lundstrom, that we'll get around because that was some buzz, wasn't it? They also had the shoehorned Sterling in there for a wee bit of power, a bit of size, a bit of presence. It didn't really work, did it? And of course, then they also shoehorned Lego he done for possibly the worst performance I've ever seen for a Rangers player in Glasgow Derby in my puff. And that was, of course, Lawrence, who we were told was going to be some player, but we're always told they're going to be some players. And we've actually been told after the event that if Nico Raskin had played, then we wouldn't have won. Right? So I just gave in. So, what did you think of the team? Any surprises for him, Paddy? Were you expecting a tougher game?
Of course, I was expecting them to come at us a bit more than what they did in the first half. I kind of went against you when you had said about Sterling starting in the middle. I thought they'd have started him at left back. As they did previously to try and nullify us down the left. But yeah, they went with the Barry Ferguson approach and tried to get Callum. I think in the first kind of 15 minutes, every single one of them had a kick at the captain to try and put him in his place, as it were. And the big man was right up for it. He laughed it off. It was easy for him in there. And I think with the players seeing that, and they knew they were going to come out and try and do stuff like that. They had to be dirty. They had to do something like that because, let's face it, they don't have the footballing quality. They're not a better side than us, so they had to do something. And obviously, nullifying our captain would have been that. So in terms of performance, I thought, we done a cracking job.
Aye, that's it. Do you know, Liam, let's just get straight in the game, eh? Let's stop this fluff in the nest and bit of foreplay, if you want to call it that. Let's just get right in about it because it was a straight at the trap start, wasn't it? And I know that you've been singing the praises on yourself, Phil, guys at the bus, myself, Paddy. We've all been doing it recently, and there's been a reason for it. James Forrest comes out the traps flying, doesn't he? Straight in about it. No nonsense. We almost got an early goal after 2 minutes for his actions. What were you thinking as soon as you see the opening 10 minutes of James Forrest, mate?
I thought he was brilliant. I thought what he offered was the way he was dragging. He did a really good job of dragging their defenders all over the place. We don't usually get that for that wing, like when Con or Yang. They've not got that. I don't know. Maybe just the experience to sort of move them in and out and pull them out and and create spaces so that somebody like Matt O'Reilly can take advantage of it. And I think that's why you see Matt O'Reilly having had such a good game. Well, at points, because Forrest was helping, creating and making that space for him where he gets a chance to shot. In fact, we had a lot of shots from just outside the 18-yard line, 18-yard box, because it was the same thing. Dyson was doing it on the other wing, and they were moving around the players, and that was letting our midfielders and our defenders get off a shot or two for that range. I mean, we should have been much more clinical, but I think you take all that back to the way Forrest was making their runs, and I want it can.
He brings a directness, doesn't he? Obviously, he's these praises sang by ourselves, he's these praises sang by the manager, and Rodgers says quite rightly so that he is, he's our best winger at the club at the moment, and I think it's in the fullness of time when you actually see him coming in those past few games. He very rarely puts a foot wrong, isn't it? You know, he's direct, his ball retention's fantastic, his positional awareness, his awareness of a pass, the correct pass, when to make a pass, when to shoot, it's all there. You know, as we said, opening 10 minutes, first off, he beats straight in after 2 minutes, beats the player, ball across, and I think it's Suter almost turns it into his own net, but he follows that up with the same thing, doesn't he? 2 minutes, but 5 minutes, and just up before the 10-minute mark, he's got 2 shots at goal. He's forcing the keeper into making saves earlier on, and instantly he's got them on the back foot down the right-hand channel. Whenever we're thinking it's going to be completely odd down the left hand, there's a wee bit of switching there as well, but he's putting in the effort nice and early, Paddy, into it. And you know, we were expecting Maeda to be setting the tempo, but it's James Forrest, a man for a blast for the past again, eh?
Do you know, I said that with the boys are sitting watching the game with Marco and Wally, and my son Miles were sitting watching it, and I noticed that previously everything was down Maeda's wing because we know obviously he torments their captain, but for the first half, everything was down the right, and Jamesy, he seemed to bring, you know, you're saying there, it's like, I felt like it was unpredictability he was bringing, because he wasn't going to the byline all the time. He was cutting back, he was chopping and changing, and it kind of allowed Matt O'Reilly to have like a free roll in there. And Matt's a creative player, and when Matt's got that space, you're going to get the magic from him. And that freed that up, and that for me was pivotal in that game. It just showed that, yeah, giving Jamesy that opportunity. A few guys in the comments there saying that they reckon that's James's best performance against them. Yep. Yeah. I agree. I totally agree. I thought it was absolutely fantastic from the off. You said before, we've been singing his praises. He gets it. He knows what it means to play for the club. He's a winner. And that's what you need in these situations. And it showed.
Fantastic start, Liam. You know, that's the thing. We've spoke about it, and we were kind of surmising when we were going to get to see this impact. We heard Rodgers saying about he's going to have a big part to play. He's no half, isn't he? You know, that's him. He's with the performances against Aberdeen, with the performance against Dundee. He's backed up, folks saying possibly one of his better performances against Rangers. We've seen him scoring games before. Would you prescribe to that, Liam, in terms of impact? And, you know, it almost lasted the largest part of the whole game, but it never seemed to drop off at any stage from him, did it?
Well, you know, for somebody that's turned 63 today, he's 32. You know, and are we writing James Forrest at 32 thinking that, you know, he's that much, he's went into that much decline? I don't think he has. He's a guy, he's had a lot of injuries in his career, but he seems to have been healthy for a long time now. And I think that might be helping him as well. And just the confidence of being a senior player in this team. And, you know, he had testimonial this summer. You know, so I think what you get for James Forrest is you're getting all that experience that we don't really have on the park. And I think he's adapting to it really well. I'd be surprised if he's not playing for Scotland this summer. I mean, we could definitely get somebody with that same guy. I mean, he's the one that got us into the last European Championship. So it was his goals that got us in. You know, so maybe there's a Scotland call up for him, because I think his form has been that good lately. But it makes you wonder, okay, well, what was Rodgers no seeing in training? Like, why did we persist so much with Yang and Cohen when at times they were palming it, when they've all been really struggling? You know, so, and I don't think oil was saving them for a big finish, because, you know, we were nearly out of this title race if they hadn't dropped points.
Absolutely.
So I think James Forrest and the resurgence of him, maybe it was just always there, and we've not been seeing it, you know.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. The manager says to us that he'd actually, in a wee bit of hindsight, you're saying, but why did we persist with these guys? Let's Yang, and, you know, but we're all saying that exact same thing. The manager, I think, you know, one thing about Rodgers is, you know, he's split the fan base, to say the least. I think after this, there's a lot of people owing him an apology, and certainly, you know, he didn't miss when it came to his interview at the end. Certainly, there was maybe a wee bit referring to some fans, but certainly more to the sort of the media and the spin that was put on him, but it was treated like he was amateur hour and he'd lost it and he was past it and all this kind of nonsense. But one thing about Rodgers is he is quite honest, and he is, you know, he's got self-awareness, and he had said to himself earlier on in one of his press conferences that he thought, in hindsight, he probably should have and could have played Forrest a lot more. But by his own admission, he wanted to give these new guys a chance. And I think that's it. He's tried it. He's tried to give these guys a chance. He's tried to make sure that they try to get their effort in, they try to show something, but they've not quite done it. And we have ended up just having to revert back to tried and tested, and it's been a good thing that he has. But as the game kicks on, as we say, we're in early control. I think, the crowd are electric, we're on our feet. Forrest is making all the runs, we're seeing the energy of Maeda. But again, we do get our wee sort of fragilities, as we know. We sat here and spoke about it. Stop the crosses, get into the box. It's, I don't understand why it's something, even though we didn't threaten us too much. We get an early shot across the brows after about 15 minutes. And there's down a guy that we'll get on to. This actually comes down for the side of Alistair Johnson, who I think on the piece of the whole game was actually pretty disappointing, if I'm being completely honest. We normally criticise the left-hand side. Yep, Rangers did try to exploit that, but not with as much success as they seem to be getting down the right-hand side. And I know Silva, he stayed in his feet this game, so well done to him. But he was torturing. He was torturing and giving Johnson a hard time. And they get their first sign, and we get a wee quick reminder that we were still, nothing was certain. As they get a ball in the box, Silva gets a pass into Barisic, and one's hung up. Again, the cross eludes the complete left-hand side of the defence. Sterling gets a head down and we scramble it clear. An early sign there that things are potentially going to be at risk. And then we follow that up again. Silva bursts through after a bit of pinballing and the shot gets away from Silva. Again, it's early signs. It's nothing major, but did it give a wee fright at all, Liam, to think, right, the script might be just putting its head upside down here?
Aye. Like, see, you take away all the emotional stuff of yesterday, the win, all the excitement and all that, and you actually look at the performance. Yeah, Alistair Johnson, I think he's getting found out by a lot of players in the league now that he's not very good when you run into the box with him. If you can get him to running into the box with you, he's a lot of the time he ends up on the wrong side. If you can get into him, he'll give you the side. And that seems to be, Silva should have scored with that header.
Definitely.
That was terrible. And again, was Johnson let him go. And he's got a bad habit of doing that against Rangers. All the really good things that he did when he first came into the team, I don't see that anymore. This style that we're playing now means that he has to defend and he has to come into the box with guys. And yeah, he seems to be panicking once he gets near 18-yard box. So unless he's pushing out to the wing, to the byline, and no, he's a bit of a worry. I liked when Ralston came on. I thought Ralston put balls into the box, in the little time that he was on than Johnson had. And, and I think Ralston offers so much more. I think he's a better defender. And I think we've just hyped about Johnson, because he's a Canadian international. And,
that's the thing. Is he maybe a case, Liam, is somebody that bursts onto the scene? Juranovic looked a wee bit disillusioned. He was sort of up and down, and then we got in this guy that was all guns blazing. If we maybe fell into that sort of, loving really quick with him, and maybe to an extent because he put himself about, that we bought into a wee bit and thinking he has an upgrade. In the fullness of time, do you still think there's room for improvement on the right-hand side and in Alistair Johnson to give him proper solid competition likewise on the left?
You talking to me?
I am. Sorry. I don't know. There you go. Because I know you're big up him, but as I say, do you think there's enough there to show that, look, if we're going to, let's face it, we're going to go into a new format, Champions League, and next season, new challenges. We know that we're defensively weak, but he's no exempt, is he?
No, I think that's a must-have. I think we have to look at 3 out the back 4 yesterday. We will get annihilated if we play any of them. They're just not Champions League quality or what we're needing going into the Champions League. I mean, if you look at Greg Taylor, it's not just Champions League. He's found out in Scottish football. And I think Johnson's on the same trajectory. And I said this about a year ago on the bus. I've seen an awful lot of similarities in Taylor and Johnson, just in their personality traits and stuff that sort of made me think, like, you know, these are guys that are just really, really happy to be here, you know, and picking up a wage and playing at Celtic and must be brilliant and all that. But I don't see them as players build a team around, right? Just because they're comfortable and they're enjoying being in the team and playing 90 minutes every game doesn't mean they deserve to be there. I want to see people come in that are committed and get better, you know, don't just sort of plateau. I think when you're playing for Celtic, you need to be evolving as a player every time. That's what the training and the managing and all that's for. So you see that development. I don't see it in any of those guys. I've seen that most of them have peaked. So yeah, they must be replaced with somebody that is better, that can also develop further as well. So yeah,
no, I mean, listen, it's just a wee minor criticism. As I said, on the large part, he has been more solid. The right-hand side of the defence is certainly been more solid. It's not a criticism. We're just looking through the instances that happen. And, you know, the two instances that Rangers got a wee bit of purchase early in the game, unfortunately, did come down the side of Alistair Johnson. It's as simple as that. But as Celtic do, Paddy, we get ourselves back up on top, don't we? We ride the lightning. We get a couple of scares and then we just get our foot back in the ball and we get down to business, as they say. We have a couple of quick shots in succession. The Kyogo one, I think Rodgers, he thought that's in. He gave it the two.
Yeah, the hand was up.
Gave it the two hands up. What a shot! But again, whether you like him or hate him, Butland, how many points has he been worth today? I mean, we're talking. People are saying about if Rangers won this, they could have pushed on because of who we've got to play. If it wasn't for Butland, would we have been out at this point where we're saying yesterday was a decider?
No. I think you've got to give the man credit where it's due. I kind of, when as soon as the ball's in the box, I thought, yes, here it is. Kyogo's on it, and my hands were up. I was up off the couch. I was cheering it as well, and he ripped out the top corner.
Some shot. It done. They say, done everything bar score. Done everything right bar score. If that makes any sense whatsoever. But the goal did come. And it was quality passing. It was a quick break. Cal McGregor finds his way, makes a run. Forrest picks it up into Callum again. He sees Matt O'Reilly in the corner. He does that perfect touch and just sweeps it in past the goalkeeper. He had one just earlier before that, very similar position, and he just dragged it slightly wide. No, that time, perfect start, and that was it, wasn't it? I mean, it was a perfect bit of our football. We've been looking for that identity. We've been looking for that sort of what is the game plan. That was it, wasn't it? In a nutshell, that goal.
Yeah.
End to end and goal.
We spoke about it. Early goal, get the goal, make sure they don't score first, get the goal, and just fire on. I thought their heads would have went down and they'd have crumbled right there and then in front of our eyes. As soon as that ball goes into Matt and he strikes it, absolutely incredible, stunning goal. Marco's commented there, you fell on your ass too, Paddy. I jumped up and Marco's got one of these rugs that's not stuck to the floor, and me and Willie ended up on the deck. It was absolutely hilarious, but you know what? Nothing could have dampened their mood at that moment. Absolutely incredible, and what a start, what a finish.
Great goal, great technique though, you may. I mean, just it does slightly knock it up, and it's slightly off the ground on the bounce, but perfect finish, isn't it? Is that not what we've seen it? If you think that we've been seeing a wee bit of return to form, I know it might be late and we might be saying goodbye to him, hopefully not, but is that just the way it goes? You guys coming to the top when it matters?
I mean, he's that sort of player, you know. I think he needs to be constantly motivated. When you give him a challenge, he seems to do really well. You know, still to see it in a Champions League game, you know, where we thought Matt, you know, he would come and start taking control. He never really impressed me in any of the games I've seen him there. But, you know, he's got a big summer ahead of him. He might be going to a big club, and he also wants to get into that Denmark team. And, you know, this is a showcase. It's a showcase window, and that's what the challenge always is when we play in these games. Is like, here's the opportunity for your big players to show up and be a big players, you know, and that's where you see it, you know. I think that's where Callum McGregor stands up in these games. You know, Joe Hart, I think, always plays well in these games. Kyogo, although I thought Kyogo was, I didn't see as much of him as I would have liked to.
No.
That snapshot, that he took off Butland. I mean, that would have been an absolutely cracking goal. You know, that was just like bang bang. You know, it's something you see on.
Did that surprise you, Liam, that we didn't see as much Kyogo in the game, given the fact of the defensive change? You know, the big Ben Davies. You know, he's got tone of tractor. Let's be honest. We saw what happened last time he was in the defence against Kyogo. And Suter, did he just on that alone? Did that surprise you? Because a lot of our play was coming from Forrest, was coming via Maeda, but it was as if it was just bypassing Kyogo, wasn't it?
Yeah, he didn't seem to be involved in. You know, there's a couple of times you could see him making runs and all that, but I think that helped. That might have been part of his role, Stevie, because he seemed to be dragged. Like the guys were getting dragged all over the place, running about with him, and I think that's why we had so many shots for outside the box.
Yeah,
because that movement that was dragging them, that they couldn't stay still, and so we had a lot of opportunities fall to guys that don't usually get shots and stuff like Matt O'Reilly had about 3 or 4 that he dragged wide.
Yeah,
you know, there was a couple
well,
of
a couple, as you say, sorry to jump in there, but a couple of times he got that space. It was acres of space because of these runs to Kyogo, I suppose, isn't it?
Aye, and so usually that's the way like you usually play in a Champions League game where people are sitting on the edge and pinging shots at us. So the reverse of that. And so we were doing that to them. We were doing that just because they were so static. And guys like Kyogo, Forrest, Maeda, they all have that movement, mobility to their game that they just cannot handle.
Yeah,
that was their difference, and that's why it's frustrating. If our midfielders had been more technical with their shooting, or even just like when to shoot, we should have studied them yesterday.
Yeah,
that's a wee bit disappointing, is because it was on a plate for us. And
Well,
we played well in that second half, but I didn't think we played that well.
No, see, touch on it. The only reason our midfield had all of the chances was because of the runs for Kyogo. You're touching on his movement and stuff. I thought the wee man's movement was outstanding. Every time somebody was on that ball in an attacking position, he was dragging the defence all over the place. And it totally, honestly, freed up so much space. And that's why we were cracking the ball. You spoke about it earlier, Liam, hitting shots for outside the 18-yard box and a couple for just the edge of the box, things like that. That's why we got the chance, because the wee man was dragging their defence left, right and centre. And I think that to me is invaluable. The wee man's in there obviously to score goals, but if he's going to take defenders out and allow midfielders who we know can crack a ball the chance, then fucking by all means he can do that all day.
Well, that's the thing, Paddy. We didn't begin to get sort of Kyogo in the game. I sort of think that his movement we sometimes take for granted because he was creating opportunities for everybody else, and sometimes that's as good as a goal, as daft as that sounds, because it was we're scoring from all over the pitch in general as the game goes on. We got 2 out of them the last time round, and that's great to see. But it's getting that balance. Good strikers find that balance where. What we've complained about with him this season before is sometimes when he's not in the game, he's literally doing nothing, but he seems more involved in the off the ball stuff. Maybe that's stuff that we've been practicing in our training sessions. Roger sat there and spoke and says, we'll think all different scenarios. And I'm sure one of those scenarios is going to be that you just simply, your striker is getting either marked at the game or getting attention. So how can he influence the game elsewhere? Very smart, and it paid off. But the second goal comes, and it doesn't matter, as we say, it doesn't matter how it comes. If it comes off of somebody's arse, and it did come off it like an arse, didn't it? Because it came off of John Lundstrom in the net, and it was the energy, it was the power of Maeda. I've seen a couple of folks saying the ball into the box wasn't even a good one. It was in the right place, it was at the right height, and I'm actually surprised. I don't know about you two guys. See, as far as OGs go, it was I don't know how it went in because it wasn't as if it was like he swiped at it. No, they always swipe and it slides past the goalie, or they try to blitter it and it goes in the net. It's almost as if he just sort of daisy card in the net, eh?
Do you know what? Absolutely fantastic. One of the boys messages me and he says, Idah is like a speedboat with no steering wheel. And that summed it up. It's just bombing in. Didn't know what he was doing. He was just wanting to put the ball in the box, and obviously he's just clipped it in. I don't know who John's thought's been behind him, but his knuckles have obviously slowed him down too much, and he's put the ball into the back of his own net, which I thought was absolutely fantastic. Couldn't have a better man.
As soon as the ball goes in the net, Liam, is that when, and we'll get on it because they obviously scored immediately thereafter. But did you think to yourself, right, the cracks are starting to show? Because what's the first thing he does? He starts pointing at other folk, doesn't he?
Aye.
Starts pointing the finger at other
Oh.
folk, and you're thinking, here we go.
I mean, you can see that, right? You can see why the red mist came, you know, like a few minutes later, where it was just like fucking angry, you know. Why, babe? What about Dizan's goal celebration, jumping into the crowd?
He said he didn't know you could get booked for that.
Crowd. Aye, didn't know you can't do that, right? Aye. Is that it, you know? But I like to see that for our players, our foreign players. You know what I mean? That aren't afraid of us to get in amongst us, and you know, and show that, you know, aye, we are playing. They are playing for us. You know, we are singing for them. And I thought, yeah, that was great, and just that type of goal as well for him as well. That just puts the further fear. This is the legend that is in Maeda now. You know, when they're playing against every podcast they're talking about, the first thing they're going to have to talk about what we're going to do with Diza Maeda, because he's got them spooked. He's got them spooked now that they're even putting it in their own net. So I think it's lovely. You know, I was glad it was him too as well, because he's just a hatchet man. And he proved that later on, but he's always just had that Nedish quality about him that you just sort of sees. Like I remember like first time he was clattering into Hatate and all that when we first had Hatate in the team, and he's just always had that bit of brutality to him. You know, that you know, agricultural football at best. You know,
that's one way of putting it. That's one way of putting it. But you know, that's the thing. It couldn't happen to a nicer guy, as I say. But I thought myself, here we go, 2-0. You text me, Paddy, the classic line, get the body bags out with your thing. Right, here we go. I ain't gonna lie, I'm thinking brilliant. The arguing, pointing the finger. But again, I said this before, I asked the question. We all went into this game quite confident. Nah, he was sitting on the fence a wee bit. You were like 6-7, nothing. Too many cans, I think. But jokes aside, one thing we did say, and we sat and spoke about it as well, Liam, in the 3-3 game at Ibrox, it didn't deter Rangers. They could have easily have imploded at that point. How much of the way their goal came about being down to that you're almost weakest after you've just scored, cliche and all that kind of stuff. But again, was it not frustrating for you the way that we lost the goal? Because it was the typical stuff, again, that we talk about is simple match analysis that anybody, surely Celtic should know. And again, Johnson gets himself done. The ball goes over. It's a wide ball straight over the back post. Again, it floats over the two left-hand sided defenders. An easy one. Back over. Nice as you like. Just have some of that in the net. 2 minutes later. Deflating for us. Frustrating as well. Did that put any fear into yourself? Here we go. Similar to Ibrox situation? Or were you more than confident that we'd see it out?
Well, no, you know, no pun intended, but wounded bears, you know what I mean? They're the ones that are the most dangerous. So they were definitely wounded at that time, and I think they were playing for their pride, and they're playing for, you know, knowing the absolute bollocking they're going to get when they go back to Ibrox, and you know, and their crowd can turn on them like that. So so you're playing for pride and all that, but you're playing as well because you don't want to face that mob with it looking like you've given it your all. Just like, you know, when our players play poorly and that as well, the fans have every right to get in their back and all that. This is professional football. You're getting paid, you know. Yeah, it really annoyed me the way we lost that goal, because it seems to be, you know, you go back to what you said about Brendan Rodgers being treated like a novice. Well, you know that the way we defend balls coming into our box at that back left-hand post, you look like a novice. You've had 2 windows to address the situation. You didn't do anything. And so, he does look like a novice when it comes to how we defend that, knowing that that is where we are really, really vulnerable. That when Greg Taylor and Liam Scales are marking the men in that box, did you see how much height he had on Greg Taylor
Well,
to
can I
get that
put
ball into
Can I
the
bring
box.
this one up to you then? Because just whilst we're on this, and I'll put it to both of you. Strangelove saying that he thinks Greg Taylor's actually fouled with the clambering over
might be.
by, I think it's Sterling, for the header. We always say about, tackles, and it's a contact sport, particularly when it comes to impingements in the box and fouls and that kind of stuff. Is it enough for you, or is it just you've been out jumped? Where the hands in the back or whatever, we see it time and time again. Is it as straightforward as he literally pins him down and jumps over him, or is our guys at the left just, again, letting themselves down positional and not really getting physically involved?
Well, it's Willie Collum refereeing, right? So you're going to Willie Collum, the bad rap he gets is because he allows thuggish football. Like some of the tackles and shit that he lets people away with and all that. Like that one where Hatate got felled, where the fellow, was its name Diamambly or something, and he gives him a striking motion with his elbow.
The back of the head, yep.
In the back of the neck. Either way, I mean, like the intent's there to slow him down by an elbow to the back of the shoulder, not to kick his feels at that. I mean, that's cynical football. And yet, Willie Collum didn't even merit that a yellow card. And so when you see that, when you see that sort of stuff being like the way he likes his football, Greg Taylor getting pushed down and jumped over like that, of course Willie Collum's going to let that go. But the problem with Willie Collum is he's schizophrenic, because 2 minutes later he'll book Hatate for his first tackle, and it wasn't even that bad a foul. It was just Hatate making a tackle. He's tiny. He's no running guy trying to take him out with an elbow at the back of the neck. And so that's where Willie Collum loses anything. And so when you look at that goal, yeah, of course Willie Collum would let that go. So that means we have to be more. We have to be just more physicality back there. It's just getting out muscled, and whether it's legitimately or a foul or that, we're still getting it out muscled at that far post. And that's something we've not addressed in any game this season. We've just let it go. And that might be where the novice tag is coming for, because that should have been addressed. We're a professional football team. Fix that.
No. Saying there, it comes up, and we spoke about this as well, Paddy, isn't it? Listen, it doesn't really matter the fullness of time in terms of the result and stuff, but as we look forward, because we can start to really look forward. We've got 3 games, 2 games in the league, and we've got essentially a real life cup final still to go over the line. That's what's going to matter. But if we look further beyond that and we look into summer, we talk about this start of the season when Brendan came in, we sat there and spoke about wanting to be the leading and, class leading and all sort of operations of football thing.
Yeah.
Get into the Champions League. It goes without saying, we can flog this horse until it's completely dead. But we do know that we need extra quality. We need higher quality caliber players. We need that kind of stuff. But as we said before, we need the nuts and bolts of the game. And do you see something like that? That goal we saw there that we lost is the exact same goal that we've seen all season, and even beyond that under Ange. We know he doesn't believe in defensive coaching anyway. We've heard that. He said that even down at Tottenham. But we're going into Europe. We're going into another season, and the definition of madness is to do the same thing time and time again and expect different results. You can bet your bottom dollar if we don't do anything in the summer around about how we operate defensively, teams are going to continue to do that, and they're probably going to continue to exploit it. Is it really something for you looking further beyond this game, beyond this season, that we need to start looking at? We start looking at now.
Yeah, I agree in a way, and then I kind of don't agree with some of the comments. Obviously, Liam had said I thought Willie Collum had a decent enough game. As far as it goes, he was trying to let the game go a little bit. The Scales Taylor thing, we brought it up countless amounts of times after so many games. It's chaos ball, isn't it? It's the ball into the top, play it over the top of them. They're always out of position. They're turning circular and Arctic lorry, things like that. But relatively on that game, I thought Liam Scales had quite a good game. Other than the goal, I thought he actually played really well. He takes too many touches on the ball. He goes too far forward for my liking. I don't think he's as good a technically gifted footballer as he thinks he is. But I would like to see him do the simple stuff because he's fucking good at it. if in doubt, kick it out. Get it away. Your job is to keep the ball out of that net, son. Don't be busting forward. We've got midfielders, we've got wingers that will do that for you. Just get the ball out. Taylor, again, wasn't really involved with too much. But yeah, faults. The faults are there. They're there to be seen. Going into Europe, you're not going to get 5-6 touches on the ball. That was shown previously. If you look back at some of the games last year, even our most gifted players, your Kyogo, your Hatate, even Callum, you're caught on the ball because we're used to playing against St Mirren and Ross County and everywhere where you're going to get 3-4 touches on the ball. Against other guys, these superstars, you're not going to get that. As soon as you get the ball, they're on your arse. They're there. Do you know what I mean? It's like they used to say at schoolboy level, if he goes to the toilet, I want you on it before him. And that's it. Do you know what I mean? You need that. You need that kind of players that are going to think on their feet, players that are fast, players that are going to be good on the ball. You spoke about Alistair Johnson as well. Steve, what you said about him? Somebody sent me a message before saying Alistair's the guy that you draft into sevens when you're short of a player. Because he does cross-country running and he can run all day and he's fit as fuck, but at the end of the day, he can't really play football. And yeah, you can see that with him. He's got that athleticism. He'll give you 110%, but at the end of the day, you see flaws. Tony Ralston, I believe, is a better defender. I believe he gives you more. He's not as fast as Alistair Johnson and he's maybe not as athletic, but I mean, he runs about, he puts himself about, and he's probably, for me, the better defender, but he's not the solution.
No.
And I think massive uphaul in that defence. Keeper, obviously, with Big Joe going. I'd like to take this moment to thank him because the big man done an incredible job for us. Alistair Johnson, again, I think we could get somebody better in there. We need a replacement for Scales and we need a replacement for Taylor because, like we said, they're not the solution. Carter Vickers, for me, is the only one that you would really throw in there that's a stick on, isn't he?
I like that comment there. I like that. Yeah, we'd probably hire Doovie. There you go. That's how it would go. But listen, we've done a wee rabbit hole, but listen, that's all good. That's what we're here to do. Sometimes it's not fun to go in a linear direction unless it's en route to winning the title at Celtic. But to finish off the action, we see the big talking point, don't we? The tackle on Lundstrom, as you says, Liam, about there wasn't much cards given out. There probably should have been. There's a yellow card initially given out for which, quite frankly, a wild tackle. It does go to VAR, and VAR actually does its job right. I mean, it would be a pretty rough day if it didn't do it. It's a straight red, Liam, isn't it? All day long. What do you make as well? You've got everybody, if you want to take pundits for face value, but they are. Even guys like Chris Boyd saying it's a horrendous tackle, but then somehow you've got Kenny Miller dying on the hill off. It's a yellow card, even though I know it's a red card. And Alistair Johnson apparently plants his foot down there because that's what players do these days, and they know it's happening. Do you think Alistair Johnson says, when this guy come like a freight train, I'm going to just put my leg here and risk getting a broken ankle? I mean, seriously, talk to me.
I mean, who do you know? I mean, that's easy, Patter, that you're purposely going to put your leg. I mean, put it this way, Lundstrom telegraphed that tackle. You can see when you're playing football, when there's some psychopath out there right now, it's like, I'm going to kill you. And then you see a ball coming 20 yards away and this guy is running behind it full speed. He's not coming for the ball, he's coming to come through you. And the last thing I'm going to do is plant my laser and go, you know what, I'll take one for the team. I might never play again. That sort of tackle coming in, you know. See, the professional footballers like, Chris will only hurt a bit. It's like, fucking hell. I mean, the fact the intent that he's running in at that speed to get a ball that's a nothing ball in the middle of the park at the end of the second half. No, the intent wasn't to win that ball. The intent was to try and send a message because he'd have been embarrassed later. And I think that was just everything about, talked about in the bus, like, I knew their football, their emotional IQ would let them down on the park.
Yeah.
That they would have players that will not be able to get beat, especially at Celtic Park, and especially when it looked we were coming on for a tanking.
Yeah.
Where we were peppering balls at him and his midfield and what he was doing, he was already on to the worst game ever. So the best thing he could have done was pull the plug on himself. And I don't think he originally tried to get sent off, but he was certainly trying to send some type of a message. And all you have to do is listen to their pundits when they're talking about leaving one on players and, showing them early who's boss and all that. You hear it for ex-captains, you hear it for guys that are pundits now, all that sort of stuff, right? So you can't say that, that's no, there's no chance that was intentional. Because you hear them saying, somebody should be testing Callum's mask or they should be that. But some of the shit their pundits come out with is horrendous. So protecting a tackle like that, I know, Kenny Miller's an idiot for that, But
it's unforgivable, isn't it? As you say, you've got Barry coming out and saying about Barry Ferguson, get close and give him a hit and all this kind of nonsense, isn't it? And then you've got, Paddy, we sat and spoke about us, we laughed about it last night, and we're doing it again tonight. I just find it wild that Kenny Miller is sitting there and he's going to die on that hill. He's going to die on that hill. It's only a yellow. It's like, no matter what way you want to chop that one up.
Aye.
The one that got me was, though, and I want to know what you think it is, he has to run fast because he's running a press. Press isn't a sliding tackle with 2 feet up off the ground, is it?
I know. Honestly, the guy is a mug. I don't even know what you can say on it. It's been summed up with the comments. I'm having a great laugh reading all of them. That's absolutely incredible. He's just an absolute lunatic. The glue must have been quite strong that day. Send him a pair of your glasses, Liam. Maybe he's needing them. Or he's needing to take his blue tinted ones off. Even Chris Boyd kind of turns around and goes, yeah, it's a red, isn't it?
What do you think the going rate for that tackle is going to be? I know that sometimes, depending on what they deem it to be issued for, if it's violent conduct and anything, it can be anywhere between 1 up to maybe 2. Depending if he's on a total up, it could even be up to 3, and that could be on for the season. What are you expecting to see out of that 2 games, man?
It's a straight red card, so it's a 2-match ban, isn't it? That's the standard on it. I mean, he's coming in, right? The first vision that you get on the VAR screen when they're showing it to Willie Collum is a freeze frame, right? Now, I despise that, because if you're looking at a freeze frame, I could show you a freeze frame in an incident and it looks horrible, right? And the freeze frame did, because you've seen the boot on Johnson's leg and you're like, right there, hi, blah, blah. But then he says, show me it again. And they showed him it in kind of slow motion. And then he's like, no, show me at full speed.
Mm-hmm.
And you actually see Willie saying that. And then they showed it full speed. And that's when he just goes, aye, no bother. And he turns around, he's like, mate, come here. No, yeah, off.
Aye.
You know what I mean? Because the intent's there. Kenny Miller, he's got to come in at speed. No, that speed. No for a tackle when a player's actually taking the ball under control. Fair enough if Johnson's bombing it away from him, but he's not. He's planted. So there is absolutely no need to come in at that pace. He's knowing exactly what he's doing.
I think so as well. There's a few folk are saying, I think after the OG, we saw the frustration. He looked at a guy that chucked it, and he actually gets down the tunnel. He didn't even look bothered, did he? He was quite happy to be out there. And see, at that point, I'm pretty sure everybody in the chat, myself included, I thought their tea's out. I genuinely thought, that's it. How many more are we going to score?
I thought we were going to get Willie's result. Willie called for a 7-1, remember? I thought we were going to get that.
I didn't think we'd go as far as that, but I thought we'd get some more else coming in. But we crack into the second half anyway. They come out. There's a slight reshuffle, as you'd imagine. They mix things up a wee bit through time, a couple of the subs. And then eventually we get a penalty, and it comes via another. It gets looked at by VAR. It comes back to this, is it clear and obvious? Willie Collum awards it. I believe he's right. What surprises me out this one, though, and I'll ask yourself first, Paddy, is Diamande gets no yellow card. Now, it's not the most heinous of tackles. He trips up O'Reilly as he's trying to get a shot off. He's about to hit the shot, you can tell. But no yellow card, and he had really rode his luck throughout that game. The one that Liam points out, where he essentially smashed Hatate in the back of the head. He had a few other. What did that guy have to do to get booked? Well, he didn't get booked, as we know, but what did he? Was he invincible or something? Was he invisible to getting booked?
It seemed to me, like I said, he was one of the ones at the start of the game as well that was nipping at Callum, trying to kind of put Callum off his game. And I think he had a couple of tackles there And the amount of times he was in Willie Collum's face as well. You've seen Willie's angry face out a few times, telling him basically that I'm the ref, get away from me. And he always seemed to have a gripe. He was always the one that was in there. Even if it wasn't his tackle, he was in. He had an opinion of it. So I thought, definitely when he gave away the penalty, I thought, right, he's got to get a card now. Surely that's him. He's got to be in the book. But I don't know what the deal was. Maybe Willie didn't have him on his bet. That's
Don't say that. Don't give anybody any sort of. don't you start any of the conspiracies, because they actually did. See, no matter what, in the fullness of this game, I actually thought that, barred the fact that probably Willie Collum should have booked a few more players, Rangers mostly, I would say Liam, I actually thought he had a decent game, if I'm being perfectly truthful. I think he made the right decisions by and large. I think he could come away for that game with his head held high. Rangers fans may well, look for holes in his performance, but I don't think there can be too much to complain about. In terms of the penalty, we step up, we miss it. It's perfect height for a goalie, isn't it? It's just a bit an afterthought as far as penalties go for O'Reilly, for some of the ones who have seen him hit lately.
The way he dinged that box outside the 18-yard line, that's what I was saying in the first half. I thought Matt O'Reilly was brilliant, one of the better games I've seen him play. By the time we got to the second half, I think that penalty took some of the edge off him. Missing that, I think there was disappointment there. He was playing, he just sort of fell away after that miss. I think these penalties that we take, anytime we do this stutter step, see this hop and a skip and a jump. Come on, when did that start? It was one guy started doing that. I knew everybody does it. Tavernier does it as well, but he's missed 5 penalties this year as well. So I think it gives the goalkeeper a better chance of guessing which way you're going to go, because you can't get power on it if you're stopping and twisting your hips in mid-air, to try and get me just to dive prematurely. The longer a goalie stays there, the better chance he's got of saving it, because he knows you're not going to get that power behind it. The way Matt O'Reilly took the penalty last week, that was completely different. He took 3 steps back and he just sort of swerved it right into the corner, but with power. Even if the goalie got one hand onto that, it's still gone into the back of the net. And that's one of the things, like, I used to love seeing somebody just go up and absolutely blast a penalty. That's why defenders were always good at taking penalties there. They would just get one. You could get someone that's like, I don't care if your body's getting behind this, it will go through you, over you, around you. At that point, it's just going to hit it so hard that you're not going to be able to move. And I think we're missing that sort of penalty taker in Celtic right now, because we're being too bloody cute with this move, and it's costing us. How many is that? That's 6 penalties we've missed now this year.
It has been poor, and I genuinely thought as well that probably O'Reilly was going to be the guy to change that. CB's own admission, we heard what he had to say at the end. They asked him what was going. He used the term, it's a shit penalty. I think it was weak. It was the right height. He actually telegraphed it. He couldn't have stared at the goalie's left-hand corner more if he tried. And he did admit, he says, I overthought it. I waited for him to move. He stood still, and I guess it spooked him. It's by the by. It now doesn't matter, but it's something, again, as we go into a new season, we're going to have to get on top of this. We're going to have to find somebody that can step up to the mark and just do the same thing over and over consistently without all this messing about. It was a slight blip, if you will, because we went into a period of roughly about 15 to 20 minutes of just sheer pressure, wasn't it? It was chance after chance, shot after shot, with a few there, with the one where Johnson breaks into the box, he opts to square it, he should probably shoot, if we're being honest. It's a great opportunity. And then we get, obviously, Maeda with one of his soon to be 2 offside goals. He's margins off, maybe. But it's a good finish, and again, it's classic for Maeda, isn't it? You're like, here we go, gets through, balls through him, Paddy, and he blasts it away. Probably the 2 goals that he didn't get in this game are probably 2 of the best finishes we've ever seen of him.
Aye, that's it. When he gets a goal, we're used to seeing it bouncing off his arse, or just him basically just running through everybody into the back of the net with the ball. But he took them well. It shows the confidence that, obviously, his assist with John Lundstrom's given him. He had a couple of chances and he put them away, which is more than we can say for one of our strikers, who obviously come off the bench as well. who I believe we'll talk about.
We'll get on to him right now, and then why not? Let's do it, and I'll go straight up to yourself, Liam, because I've not really had a chance to speak with any great depth about him. I know that certainly who we're about to talk to, Paddy had been up to this point canvassing form, a bit of a fan. We say we get about a 20-minute period of real pressure for about the penalty miss, for about 50 sort of minutes up to about the 70-minute mark when we make the subs. We're really knocking on the door, but nothing's coming off. So we switch it up. Kyogo drops off. Forrest, he's played his part, 70 minutes, almost a full game again, comes off, and we're replaced by Kuhn and Idah. Kuhn comes on, and he makes an instant impact, doesn't he? There was a question, is he better to come on and influence a game rather than start? And certainly looked that way with the way he kicked off, didn't he, with his explosive run, and he gets a good chance at the early stages.
I give him a chance to sit in the bench and see the atmosphere as well of what you're coming on to. This is a different game that he's not been involved in. Oh no, I guess he played it. I think he played at Ibrox maybe. Aye.
Yeah, but faded out. Yeah, that's not a big game, is it? That was what it was.
But yeah, I thought he came on and he kept that mobility going, that we were still dragging him all over the place. So it was like, he wasn't getting a rest seeing Forrest going off. It was like, oh no, he got replaced with somebody that was playing the exact same thing. He's still not as good defensively as I liked. A couple of times where the ball broke and I look and didn't see him like committed and running back the way I think our wingers should be doing, especially when they were breaking with the ball. So he's still doing that, and Yang's guilty of that as well. And that might be a young guy thing and all that, but that's what will keep you as a Celtic player, being able to track them, the runs back. But going forward, to give them nightmares. I thought Idah coming on, I thought he was poor. If I was contract on that game, I wouldn't be offering him a contract here. I thought he poor thing. That there was one boy got in for Ralston. It was a cracking ball in, and it just seemed to surprise him. And it's come on, how you surprised? Big game. You've been watching what's happening. You're supposed to be geared in. You're a penalty box striker, And then the other one that he missed as well, for the outside, where he just sort of ran into trouble with it. Good as well, but.
That's the thing, as you say, is we get Ralston on. I thought Ralston, as you said at the top of the show, when he came on, he came in the place, obviously, that injury, that tackle, it took its toll eventually because, Johnson comes off and he looks in a wee bit of pain. But as you said, Liam, these are chances that if you play for Celtic and you play in these big matches, you've got to convert them. The first one that comes into him, maybe it's a wee bit behind him. The second one he runs in, it's not so good. You wanted to touch on him, Paddy. You wanted to bring it up. Now's your chance. The commenters have said it. Liam's alluded to it. Idah, is it thanks, mate, for what you've done? You scored some vital goals. You really dug us out. You were the right person at the right time. Yeah. But in the fullness of time, it's a no, and good luck in your future endeavours.
Aye, sir. Enjoy your night, pal. See you later. Thanks very much for what you've done. But for me, he's nowhere near the quality that we need to bring in. And that showed. He commented on a couple of the chances there. Even towards the end as well, there was a chance where he was kind of trying to burst through for the middle of the park. Any decent striker would have just put the afterburners on. Somebody who's obviously just off the bench, so should have had the power in the bank. He should be busting away for defenders that have had 80 minutes in their legs. But it looked like he was towing a trailer, to be honest. He was just wasn't there for me. And that, for me, was the final nail in his coffin. I thought, you know what, mate, that's no for me. Your man Majowski at Aberdeen's doing the job. People have spoke about the lad for Blackburn there as well. I don't know who.
We now priced ourselves out of a chance at Majowski. Now, I'm not saying that could be a guy that was the right signing at the right time. We come back to the notion of Rangers and Shankland. He was a January signing. I think for them, that boat sailed. They won't go back to it. Equally for us, do you think Majowski has got that in him to kick on and somebody that we should look at versus Adam Idah? Or do you think that's just, it is what it is, Parkhead, he's going to go elsewhere, or there's no guarantee that he will kick on for this season?
Well, nothing's guaranteed, is it? It's football at the end of the day. Shankland can go to them if he wants. That's no hassle. He's never going to come to us, let's face it. We all know what he is. Majowski, I think he's proven. He's been getting 2 chances a game at Aberdeen. He'll get 4 or 5 at us.
Scored again today.
Aye, again, do you know what I mean? He's putting them away. He's your typical striker, something that we've not had, that powerful guy up front, that you kind of Giakoumakis, but for me, slightly better. I know the big man's doing a power over in America. He's banging them in out there, isn't he? He's an absolute cult hero now, which seems to happen a lot to players when they leave Celtic. Mikey Johnson, here we go. Yeah, for me, we need to bring in a big, powerful striker that's going to put himself about, that's going to bang in those chances for 6 yards out, those crosses into the box. Because for me, we don't score enough headers, we don't score enough for corners. We're needing somebody that's going to get on the end of balls and bury games. Because for me, it's happening way too much. We're squandering too many chances. Like we spoke about it before, that game should have been 6-7-1. Going with all the chances that we had. If Dyson's onside, there's 2 for you. A couple of other ones, the boys should have put their laces through them. So for me, yeah, it's a bit more clinical. Get guys that are going to put the ball in the back of the net.
Now, yourself, Liam, you touched on briefly, Idah, we still get maybe a couple of performances to see out of him so far. Anything in it for you? Is it just, it is what it is? Have you seen enough to know it's something you don't want?
I think he came and he pleasantly surprised us when we needed goals. And, he raised our expectations with a couple of good, he had that 1-2 goal game, which I think is the best game he played for us. And that dug us a hole, that won us points. So I'd say thanks, but no thanks. I'd rather us go after a player like Miovski. I want to see, he's a striker for Macedonia. Yeah, I think he's got other attributes. I think we need, and somebody said it in the chat there. I agree. I don't want to see him going to Rangers because he can already exploit our defence. We've got was a Polish international at one time now on the bench because Majowski ran at him and completely, just opened him up for everybody to see where his faults were. And I think it was that run for Majowski that sort of like sat Narowski back in the bench. That he didn't have that chance or that opportunity, and Scales came right back in. At that point, so he exposed him really bad. And I think he would expose the rest of our defence, like playing with a Rangers team. I think we should get him. I think we should be looking to get the best players we can in Scotland when we're getting to see these guys week in and week out. And I'd rather see somebody banging them in at Aberdeen that I know can score in Scotland rather than somebody that has a good season doing in Norwich.
This is the thing. Look at it, it's came across, hasn't it, with guys, the maybe the ignorance to not pay the price. Look at Josh Doige. He's maybe getting himself teed up again for a move elsewhere. And again, forget what he may well be in terms of his allegiances, but look at what happened to Ferguson as well. Unfortunate to miss out on the Euros with an injury. He's just won a very prestigious midfielders award over there. You look at some of the names that have had that, and prior to that injury, he was getting touted for big moves to big clubs. And there's also the likes of Aaron Hickey and stuff. So we need to maybe start when these guys are coming to the fore and there's an opportunity, whether they're homegrown players or whether just players plying their trade. We need to start looking at these options, don't we? Because it's not always about, as we've seen, going to foreign markets and bringing these guys in and hoping. If you look at our hit rate over the years, the guys that we've bought in, we've pissed a lot of money up against the wall, haven't we, time and time again. And as the summer comes in, there's probably going to have to be clear out of a lot of nonsense once again. So is it time for us to buy smart instead of buying twice?
Sometimes, like I said, it's better the devil you know. I remember back in the day when it was Dundee United and stuff like that. You big Nadir Sifty scoring against everybody in the league, so we bought him to stop him scoring against us. We got Barry Robson as well, big Lucas Zaluska, guys like that. We were bringing all of these boys in. Do you know what? See if it stops him getting 3-4 goals a season against us. I'd pay the $5 million for the big guy for Aberdeen. Not a problem. John McGinn. Do you know what I mean? If we weren't penny pinching back in the day, John would have been a Celtic player. I think sometimes if you're proven in a league, if you're good at your job in that league, bring them in, give them a chance. Yeah. If they're not good enough, then do you know what? They're a bit part player. And I think in the grand scheme of things, we're not going to be breaking the bank. I would still like to see us go out there and bring in some proper international world-class players. But I'm an optimist. I know what Celtic are. I know we're tight. I know we're a club that's going to progress players and then sell them on for massive profit. I think this season, we spoke about it previously, we've got a lot of money coming for winning the league. Once we seal it off on Wednesday against Kilmarnock, I think that'll be a lot more settled in there, and we should start to see movement. I would imagine we should start to see Brendan should start looking. Do you know? Get it done early.
We need to start hitting the ground early. We do. We need to start hitting the ground early and making a return to proper forward planning, because it's something we're missing, Paddy. And you've mentioned this as well previously. We've discussed this previously as well, Liam. We need to start really looking forward, because we got through this season. That's the term. We got through it. Yes, we were missing some key players. Yes, that made a massive hole with issues off the field, where undoubtedly the fans being out the stadium, the Green Brigade section, it did. When you look back, it did affect the performances.
Yeah,
that's got to be behind us. We've got to start looking forward, because there's bigger fish to fry. Without being cliche, we're going to be handed essentially double what we've already got on paper in the bank sitting. That's huge. And based on what I've saw this season, based on what I've saw in this game yesterday, Liam, I don't think Rangers have got it in the tank to qualify for the Champions League, to get into that sort of financial realms with us. So now is the time, if any, there can't be an excuse. For once, are we actually going to do the right thing here?
Well, I don't know. Our board tend to do the wrong thing when opportunity is in front of them. I mean, it's every chance that they might just look at them now and say, okay, well, let's re-sign Greg Taylor. He'll get another 4-year contract. Brendan's always talked about his love for Mikey Johnson. He likes it. He rates him. We know that for a fact. I mean, you'll probably be hearing, he's always been the second best winger at the club next to James Forrest. That sort of talk. Yeah, and I think there's a whole other podcast and a conversation on, but do I trust Rodgers with 50 million now, the way that he spent 20 odd million this summer, and we did absolutely really, really poor in recruitment, that we were ended up left with one left back that was inferior to the role, even though we had 2 windows to address it. The desire to play the boy for Liverpool, Phillips, again, when, my God, he made Shane Duffy look like Beckenbauer. He's I thought he was terrible. I thought he was terrible, indecisive. He was slow. He was everything that's the worst part of Scales' game, and nothing of the good parts of Scales' game. But yeah, I thought Stephen Welsh was probably a better option than that. But it just shows you as well. It's like, if we were to buy him, he would have probably cost us about like 20 odd million. And so just because we've got a £50 million war chest as well, I don't have faith in our scouting department and our behind the scenes guys that it's going to be spent wisely, and we might have another difficult season. We should have coasted this season. We had a Rangers manager got fired in October.
Yep.
We brought another guy in with European campaigns going. So we had everything to excite and entice players to come and play for us. But we just didn't have the imagination in the boardroom to actually go and scout and sign and get these deals across the line, because we had came up with some sort of fantasist wage structure player type device that was going to bring out the best in talent. And, we quickly, a non-stop conveyor belt of Jeremy Frimpong's happening. Didn't happen. And right now, I'd love to see us linked with a player. I'd love to see somebody with a Champions League pedigree, somebody with a bit more experience, somebody for the back line, but, 26, 27, somebody that's, played Champions League football on a regular basis, somebody for the Italian league. I mean, if I was Celtic, I'd be looking at the scouts in Italy that keep coming over and finding these gems in Scotland. Celtic should be looking at that. It's okay, so who are the guys that are coming over and scouting Lewis Ferguson, deciding that they, in a structural team, like they've got a pathway to play football in places like Bologna and Fiorentina and stuff like that in a top league that's much better than ours. So it's all going to depend. Like we need to make movement. We need to show movement now for the boardroom. That it's like I really don't want it to be a Greg Taylor renewed contract. That's it. No. If it's happening there, that shows you every intent of the board. I think imagination, no drive to get better.
I think he's probably one that we'll keep around. But to finish off on the game, we're talking about quality, we're talking about the need for quality, and you're talking about exactly as you say, how we should have cruised the league this year. We really should have. 6 points at this moment in time with a superior goal difference. There's worse places to be, but it should have been a lot more comfortable. And I think even though we got ourselves over the line, the tail end of the game, just to sort of gloss over it all, we did wobble, did we not? We showed with the wee signs of the fight with Callum again doing another big backtrack on it. I think it was right, a challenge. So there were still guys putting in the effort. But for whatever reason, once again, against 10 men of Rangers, a team who are not by any great shakes, they're bringing on a Raskin, they're bringing on Wright, for crying out loud, but they still put us under the cosh for a period of time in that game. And I thought we had there's maybe about a 10-minute or so period where we weren't necessarily massively under threat of losing another goal, but again, the weaknesses with the overall squad, it was starting to show, wasn't it? I think they brought up the stats on the screen, Paddy, at one point, and the action areas almost flipped on their head. All the action was in the Celtic box, mostly in the midfield, and hard learning and Rangers. We went once again from absolute complete control to the stage where going, God, I hope that there's not going to be a daft amount of added time on here because they might just sneak an equaliser.
Aye, got to that, the proverbial squeaky bum time, as we like to call it. And yeah, you knew they were going to come at us, 10 men or not, they're going to come, they're going to throw everything at it, throw the kitchen sink at it. I think somebody's throwing Liam's kitchen sink about there as well. They were going to come at us, they were going to absolutely go for us, and they were going to try and get the equaliser because they know we've got defensive frailties, they know what we've got. And do you know what? We stood, we took it, and we prevailed. And see, at the end of the day, for me, none of it matters. Mm-hmm. Because, like you said, 6 points, overall goal difference, 2 games to go. Bring on Kilmarnock on Wednesday, put the final nail in their coffin, and then get Clyde one on, and we'll just watch them implode.
Well, that's true. Well, as the game went up, I'm going to bring up just the stats for those of you who are. I'm not going to bore you and sit and talk to them. We can have a wee look at there. I think in the fullness of the game, it was fairly comprehensive. There you go. 68% possession. Look at the passing accuracy. Look at the amount of passes, double the amount. Look at the accurate passes. And of course, big chances, goals. And of course, we had 2 cracking goals offside, obviously, from Maeda. The second one being an absolute topper. A cross diag ball, chested down like he was prime Thierry Henry and fired into the net. And of course, corners. Imagine we could score for corners and make these sort of set pieces capitalise. Looking at that there, Liam, is that an accurate take on what you saw with your eyes? I know stats sometimes can be used to pad any narrative, but does that look good enough for you? Is that what you saw?
Aye, more or less. I mean, you're right. I don't really bother with stats at all. I look at what I was seeing, and they looked like they were dominating us in the middle of the park. And they seemed to have. They had chances, but they didn't have shots and goals against us. They dribbled them out, and sometimes they overplayed it themselves. And so there was far too much in their end at the last part of the game for me. I would have preferred that we'd been a bit more clever and actually started spreading them and use some of the extra space we had on the park with the extra man. We never did that. Rodgers never really changed the tactic at all at that point, where we should have exploited them. We should have been dragging their runners out and even just tiring them out. But we never did that. So, yeah. So, I mean, these stats, that's with one man less than us. So,
yeah. No. That's the thing. It was a decent enough performance all once. I say, the stats are stats as they'll be, and there's another one sort of just to show. Look at that, tackles won. That's a big one for us. That's when we talk about wanting it more. I remember Paddy Cantwell apparently wanted it more. He wanted that much. He couldn't get himself on the pitch for his foolish actions. But I mean, if you look at that, I think for me, if you want to talk about hunger, fight, and desire, the 70% tackles won for me. That just shows you who's wanting the most.
Yeah,
absolutely.
100%. You look at the stats, mate. If you look at the stats and you told me that game only finished 2-1, I wouldn't believe you. Statistically, should have absolutely gobbed them, like I said. And I think for large parts of the game we did. We are very critical of Celtic. As much as we're Celtic fans, we are quite critical. It's because we want the best for our club. And as soon as you start to see the frailties nip in with the defence and things like that, we jump on it straight away. But the be-all and end-all of that game is we've done enough. We've done enough to put them to bed again. That's another game that they haven't beat us. And I am really confident going into the 25th of May to play them again, to put them clearly back in their place again, because they know what they're going to get.
So see with this, just to finish up, we've went over an hour here. It's been a good chat, but the final one, I suppose, is for yourself, Liam. We've seen the narrative all season. We're now at a stage where the second coming, the mastermind, the greatest manager ever, a guy who came in to negotiate a semi-final and a final and a cup that he won, not having to play Celtic. He's now had about the exact same amount of games as Beale had when he came in. He finds himself on less points. He's found himself unable to beat Celtic. He's got a cup final to play against Celtic, which I anticipate they are going to lose. We saw the manager coming out and taking shots at the media, maybe a wee bit at the fans as well. Do you think that's a fair assessment of what Rodgers says, that, whether you like me, love me, hate me, this isn't my first rodeo. I'm not an amateur. I eat, sleep, and drink football. I go in at 6, I get up the road at 8, and then I pop up my laptop when I'm in the house and I'm still watching stuff about football. Are we seeing class not only in players but management come to the fore here? And are we going to see them starting to call out in the media that maybe Clement isn't all that they've cracked him up to be?
I think it's a lot of the fan media and stuff as well. It might be looking at the media. Media basically kissed his arse, So it's the fan media that's been critical of him, and I think we have every right to be. I think at times he has looked like a novice manager this year. Even coming up with all that sort of stuff, he's trying to be Ange in the sense where, nobody gave me any respect here and that. And it's like, change the record. It's you're a grown man. You're a manager. Of course, there was going to be conflict with coming back to a club that you walked away from, and so there's going to be a certain amount of the fan base you're going to have to win back, and also as well, our football. We went backwards. We went backwards football-wise. We went backwards recruitment-wise. Yeah, there was a lot of stuff that just looked not something that we should be seeing for a guy that's an experienced manager that's supposed to be at the very top of his game. Going into a campaign with one left back. Come on, how is that even possible? You've got scouts, you've got money, everything. All you had to do was just find somebody that's got better attributes that would make us stronger physically at that point. But no, I mean, that's an amateur move to me. So I think Rodgers is very, very fortunate this year. I'm very, very fortunate that it was a poor Rangers side, but also there were certain players that dug him out of a hole in certain games. I know we had problems with injuries and all that, but we had a lot of problems with picking our best 11. We had a lot of problem of shuffling the defence and seeing guys one week and then disappearing the next. So, yeah, I think Rodgers, I think he's got to prove it to us now that he has the, he has the goods to be a good Celtic, a great Celtic manager again. Because right now, I mean, I don't know, Ronnie Dyler could have done that, with that team. He inherited a treble-winning team and loads of money in the bank to spend on players, and he just came in like he was, I don't know, like he talks about what time he gets up and what time he get home and watching videos. I mean, who of us when they do that for a quarter of the wage he's on, you know?
Tell me about
I'd be
it.
putting in that much time as well, working for Celtic. Aye, right. I'd be sleeping there, you know. So I work, you know, look at the hours I'm putting in. Half of them sitting in an office just talking to guys. So, you know, anyway, that
See, on that, right? See, when you're saying that, right? Obviously, when Brendan came back, I had said that we were gutted when he left. Obviously, we were absolutely gutted when he left, but it's because we knew how good a manager he was. And by coming back, I think his ego brought him back because he knew he'd unfinished business. And when he stood there, when he come back and said, for those of you who have welcomed me, thank you. For those of you that have still to win over, I'll see you here in May. Well, do you know what? We will be there in May. And these guys who at the start of the season were raging with this appointment will be standing there cheering again, hopefully another double. And you know what? If you'd have said to them at the start of that speech when he was saying it, big man's going to give a double here, he'd have put his hand off for it. Yeah, I agree with the recruitment thing. I think we went backwards. I think the squad dipped for a little bit when Brendan said, we don't have enough quality in this team. We're playing against teams in the Champions League and he's going, our players aren't good enough, blah, blah. But at the end of the day, he was right. The players weren't good enough. They weren't good enough for that period of the time. But he's got the best out of them again. And I think he's a great man management player. And I think he'll get the best out of all of these players. I really firmly believe that he is the man for the job. He lives and he breathes Celtic. And he said he's going to be here for the 3 years, and I'll give him that. If he stays for the 3 years, fair play to you, mate. Obviously, Liverpool will be looking for a new manager if it's not been decided yet.
Man United will be looking for a new manager.
Man U will be looking for another one, aye. I can't see Brendan leaving. I really can't. For me, he's come in, he's done us a great job, and I would like to see him more in charge of the recruitment thing. You spoke about that before, about managers having a shot at the recruitment. Ronnie Dyler tried to bring in Odegaard at one point, and then he ended up going to Real Madrid, and now he's on at Arsenal. Big Ange, he brought in his Japanese players, always Kyogo, Hatate, Daisen, all of these boys, because it's guys that he had seen. Brendan's worked down south now. He's worked with a lot of players down there. Hopefully now he can look back at his time at Leicester, back at his time playing against these boys and go, do you know what? That boy at Southampton was actually magic, or that boy that played for such and such was magic. He's not getting a game down there. If I can get him for 6 or 7 million, brilliant, because now we're going to have that money to spend. And if he's going to do that, that'll bring us on a tenfold, I feel. Do you know what I mean? Maybe I'm just being
well,
a bit,
we've got a lot to look forward to. We've got a few
100%.
games to see out. We've got 2 games. Midweek we find ourselves going to Killie. Just not to labour it, just a quick confident for that one, Liam. You expect it. It's been somewhere that's been problematic. As for Hearts were problematic. We swatted them aside. Rangers were the next big game. We managed to get them over the line. Are we going to see another positive to finish the season, getting that monkey off our back? The Derek McInnes masterminding against Rodgers. Is that another right that we can put wrong and do you expect it to happen?
Well, they've got nothing really to play for, right? I mean, Kilmarnock, so they'll come out just want to have a go and see if they can get Person up right and do that. Get McInnes, then get the sign there of Rodgers. Yeah, I'm expecting us to probably draw it. I don't know. I don't know if we have the team that can turn it on now and go on. And like we don't seem to move from success to success. You know, we've done a brilliant job of getting it past the line now, and I don't know if this team has that motivation or that sort of that drive to keep it going. It's hard to get me to play 2 halves good in a row, never mind 2 games good in a row. So you usually get a drop in emotion after you've had a big game and a big win like that. So it's up to Rodgers. So can he motivate them and get them on the park so that we can get 2 brilliant halves and end this season looking like a championship winning team? Because this team trailed off badly last year. Once we had it done and dusted, we started losing and dropping all sorts of games. Our form was terrible.
Yeah.
And I don't think we're a team that needs to get in the culture of losing. We're about winning every single game we play. That's what it is to play for Celtic. That's our brand, winning. And so I don't want to see players getting comfortable. Oh yeah, but we'd already won the league, and and dropping points. And I was really gutted when we did that last year. I wanted the whole "we never stop" thing sort of stopped.
Yourself, Paddy, real quick, midweek.
You know me, mate, I'm always confident.
How many? Like three go. Come on, 3, 4.
Well, on the artificial park, I'll go for 2-1.
Yeah, that's cautious for you.
That's cautious for me.
It is what it is. It's just another game to look forward to. We need 1 point for the remaining 2 games. I can't see anything other than 6, if I'm being perfectly honest, at this moment in time. I don't think Rangers are going to drop any points. It's irrelevant. We've done our job. It would be, hell would have to freeze over if we were to lose this by some ridiculous circumstances. I saw some folks still keeping the faith. Apparently they thought that Celtic could lose against Killie. They'd hammered Dundee and then they'd win it the last day. Whatever. It's a good laugh, innit? But anyway, listen, as us, we've been almost an hour and a half. It's been an absolute blockbuster. It's been a mega one. That's just the way, isn't it? When you're pretty damn happy after a result like that. A big result, a massive result, one that's ultimately, as we say, is got one hand on the trophy, 1 point, 2 games, one's at home. It would have to be a disaster like we've never seen before. As far as we are concerned, as far as it says here, R.I.P. the title race, isn't it? Moving on, upwards and onwards. We've got better things to look forward to. So thanks to everybody for taking the time to stick with us. The numbers and the involvement in the comments has been fantastic. There's been over 200 of you consistently in here from start to finish. That is well and truly appreciated. We do thank you time and time again for putting in the effort and coming to watch us, and it makes a big difference. If you like what you're seeing here, it goes without saying, help us out. Make sure before we close off, give us a wee subscribe, give us a thumbs up if you want, share our content. We'll be back throughout the course of the week, no doubt, to talk about Morgan's on. Hopefully, there'll be another victory, and it will be 100% mathematically confirmed Celtic as champions. So whatever you are all doing, with the rest of your evening, the rest of your week, take care, and as always, hail, hail. See you all later.
Hail, hail,